Hello, everyone, and welcome to Step Up Nigeria's podcast. Our podcast is an initiative built to create awareness of governance issues that highlight the costs of corruption and its impacts on service delivery. Our podcast is also aimed at promoting values that will help to build a society of people with integrity and provide solutions to service delivery challenges. It's a special podcast today because we're celebrating African Anti Corruption Day, amplifying voices and actions from African youth, academia, and civil society. In celebration of African Anti-Corruption Day 2024, we celebrate the establishment of the African Union's efforts to promote awareness and encourage a united front against corruption in Africa. Annually, this is celebrated on July 12th, and this serves as a reminder to all of us that combating corruption is everyone's business and that together, collectively, we can tackle corruption. So today I have guests representing youth, academia, and civil society from some of my favorite countries, Liberia, Egypt, and Somaliland, hoping to discuss ongoing efforts to tackle corruption in their regions, challenges that they face, and any lessons that they have learned along the way. So at this point, I'll be calling on my guests one after the other to introduce themselves. And I'll be starting with my two youth activists. And they are currently leading grassroots movements and innovative projects aimed at reducing corruption and climate action in their countries. So my first guest would be Mr. Ahmed Youssef. He's a youth and climate activist. Ahmed, tell us a bit about yourself.
Good afternoon, good day, whatever it is for your location. My name is Ahmed Yusuf. I'm from Somaliland. I'm youth activist, mainly working on anti-corruption, climate justice champion. And for the last 2 years, I have been working on intersection between climate advocacy and anti-corruption, and making awarenesses for the anti-corruption and practices. And that's a little bit about my bio.
Thank you very much, Ahmed. You're very welcome. I'd like to invite next to introduce herself, Ms. Parna Malobe from Liberia. Please go ahead, Parna.
Great. My name is Fanda Malobi. I'm from Liberia. I work with Accountability Lab Liberia as the communications officer. At Accountability Lab, we focus on anti-corruption issues. We focus on the rule of law, good governance, as well as issues that bring about integrity in our governance space. I'm also one of the board members of the UNODC Youth-Led Integrity Advisory Board. And what the board does is that it works with young people to bring on their views about ways in which we can combat corruption in our world. So it's great to be here, and I'd like to say thanks to Permi and the team at Step Up Nigeria for the invitation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Parna. And our third guest is from the academia. She's an expert who's conducted significant studies on corruption, its causes and solutions. I'd like to invite Dr. Hanan Mercy from Egypt.
Hello, good morning or good afternoon, whenever you are. Hi, I am Hannah Morsi. I am an associate professor at the Faculty of Education, Helwan University in Egypt. It's one of the largest universities. And also, I am a Career Development Center Director in the university. And also, I am the coordinator of the Anti-Corruption Committee in the same university. And I'm very happy and have an honor to be with you today.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Hanan. My name is Feromi Ioda, and I'm the Director of Programs for Step Up Nigeria and the host of this podcast. So by way of introduction, today's podcast will be focusing on lessons learning. We understand that we're all Africans who are interested in the growth of our continent and our countries in general. And so we'll be speaking with our guests today on anti-corruption efforts that are currently ongoing and what we can do as young people, civil society, and academia to tackle corruption in Africa. So I'll be directing my first question at Dr. Hanan. And also just because you've been doing, anti-corruption work for the longest here, it will be interesting to hear from you what has inspired you to become involved in anti-corruption efforts? And can you share any special or personal experiences on that highlight the impact of corruption that you're tackling?
Okay. First of all, the first reason is I love my country. So, and second reason is I love my kids. I love my sons. But actually, the main reason is feeling responsible as a doctor, a lecture doctor at university, facing hundreds and thousands of youth every single day, and the responsibility that you can or you have the chance rather than anyone else to make a difference and to raise awareness because you have them already in front of you. They are in your hands every day. So it's a great responsibility to share such an responsibility in order to raise awareness about corruption and how they can voting it for their future.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So that's inspiring, and that's also, a mother's instinct, and also just because you teach, you influence the lives of a lot of young people, and that's why this fight is important. Okay, so let's move to Ahmed. You're a youth activist, a climate activist. Can you tell us a bit about what inspired you to become involved in anti-corruption efforts and any personal experiences that highlight the impact of corruption that you've observed that made you want to get involved in this fight?
Thank you so much, Fernami. What inspired me to be an anti-corruption and good governance advocate is that because I have seen that this gap is need to be addressed, and mainly anti-corruption. My country, I can say, particularly and in Somalia, and it's one of the worst countries when it comes to corruption and mismanagement. So one of the things that is become on my mind for a long time is that how we can be get rid of the corruption that affecting of our lives, that affecting on the health sector, that affecting on the youth, that affecting on the welfare of the jobs and other opportunities, that even affecting of our way of the living. So that's we can be a good country that our people can, uh, have a less zero corruption uh, administration or leadership, and that our community to held accountable for those they are elected. That's what motivated me to become an anti-corruption champion in my community and my country.
Thank you very much, Ahmed. So I'll call on Parna. And just like Parna has already, explained about herself, she's on the UNODC Youth-led Advisory Board, working with young people across Africa to tackle anti-corruption issues. So Parna, can you tell us a bit about why you became involved in anti-corruption efforts and share a bit of your personal experiences that highlight corruption that inspired you to get involved in this fight?
Thank you for having me. So first off, I think the issue of corruption it might actually take a different shape in other places, but I think all around the world, corruption is the same thing, and it belittles us as a people, and it stops us from reaching our full potential. So coming back to Africa and Liberia, our continent, our countries are so rich. We have so many potential. The young people are a beacon of hope for our future. But due to corruption, we find ourselves lacking behind in so many things. We lack basic social services in our countries. For Liberia, where I base, I think is worse because we have people abusing power. We have leaders who just want to come to power to enrich themselves out of greed. We have people who are disrespectful to our rule of law because they are in power and can use their position in a corrupt manner. I mean, those are some of the issues that pushed me to being part of the fight against corruption in my country. As a young person, I have experienced corruption on so many fronts. I've heard stories of friends or family members who have experienced corruption in the most inconveniencing way. So one of my personal experience with corruption was a family relative who was sick. We went to the hospital, but there were no drugs. So we're sent somewhere else to get drugs before this person can be treated. I mean, there are monies in our budget for health supplies. There are money in our budget for our students to have quality education, but there are individuals who are diverting this resources for their personal benefits. And this is making our society weak. This is destroying our very fabric as a people. And the only way we can change that if we have so many people like all of us coming together deciding that we want to change things, deciding that we can use our voices, our actions to be able to reshape our continent and our country. And this has really pushed my passion for the fight against corruption.
Thank you very much, Prana. Very inspiring. Just like most young people on the African continent, at one point or the other, we would have been direct beneficiaries of corruption through being forced to pay a bribe to get basic services, or family members experiencing lack as a result of poor service delivery due to embezzlements of funds. So I think every young person and every African to some extent can speak to how corruption has affected them directly. So I want to know now how young people are contributing to the fight against corruption in their communities. So I think I want to start with Ahmed on this one. On the ground in Somaliland and other countries that you've been to, can you share some success stories of youth-led initiatives, the power that young people have? How have we seen this in action? How do they contribute to the fight against corruption?
Thank you so much for Nami again for having us today on anti-corruption and African Anti-Corruption Day. Uh, Particularly on the role of youth, we can say that in particularly in Africa, more than 70% or maybe 65% of the continent population are under the age of youth. So that means the youth are the biggest population in terms of number in our Africa, and that's it's important for the youth to have to represent the community they are, to represent their countries for the best interest. Uh, One can say that, for example, the biggest movements that are ongoing on world, whether it's climate justice, whether it is peace, whether it is anti-corruption, those who are driving the force behind it are mostly youth. So that we can say youth can make their leaders and the world leaders get accountable, and they can make it to speak on behalf of their communities, and also uh, made a campaigns, and also make a grassroots movements from their societies. And and for example, in the recent times, we have seen in Nairobi, for example, Kenya, there are Gen Z or Generation Z. They have making their voices very powerful. So they are making a peaceful protests. They are against the tax bill. They have seen a burden. So that what this movement is make successful is that the youth, they are ready to make change. They are ready to face the reality. So that we can say that in this time, youth are the power. Youth are the real global power that exists now. They can make a policy advocacy. They can make education initiatives. They can make media campaigns. They can lead grassroots movements from the society and up to the public, and even the whole world.
Thank you very much, Ahmed. And we're all watching, like you're saying, the inspiring young people in Kenya who are advocating for good governance and better service delivery. And really, that's a
Yeah.
testament to the youth power. Thank you. Okay, so we'll move to Parna. And you also work with a lot of young people. How would you say that young people are contributing, and how can they contribute to the fight against corruption? Can you share any stories of successful youth-led initiatives?
Yeah. So in Liberia, the young people are not just speaking out, they are taking actions. So we have had several rallies or protests going on in Liberia for anti-corruption, and one famous one was the June 5th anti-corruption. I think it was during the term of President Weah, where young people came up and said that we are having enough issues in our country already, and to couple it with a total tap of bad governance, this is an issue. And we saw young people come up to show that they were interested in speaking up against these issues. With Accountability Lab, we work with a lot of young people, and we have seen their passion for change, their quest, their hunger for change. And when you talk to these people, they are disheartening on the ways that things are being run in these countries or in our country, and that's where their passion is being fueled from to see the change that they want to see, and they are engaging in a lot of activities. We have musicians coming up with educative song for not just themselves but for the public. We have young people becoming great writers to write about the stories of corruption in the country and to find ways that we can offer solutions to to these issues. And it is not just it's not just with that. I think that this spirit of change is growing way across Africa. And Ahmed was just talking about what we just witnessed in Kenya. It shows that when young people decide to do something, they are a force to reckon with. If they are passionate about this change, and once they go about their actions civically, it shows that they are ready. And they should be given that space to be able to bring forth the solutions to the issues that we have in Africa and our countries.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Parna. And inspiring that, at different parts of the world, young people have all said, enough is enough. We're not taking this any longer. And I really hope that these efforts yield all that we hope that, they will. Okay, so to Dr. Hanan, who works with young people on a daily basis and managing anti-corruption initiatives, how would you say, we can galvanize young people? How are they contributing to this fight? And do you have any stories to share from your end?
Yes, actually, contributing is based on preparation. So, how could we prepare them to already to contribute to the society? This is the beginning. So, this is where the universities or the academia try to do via different initiatives like grace initiatives or different other activities has been done in the university. For example, to give you an example, at Helwan University, there is two tracks, one direct track for preparation and another indirect track. So as a direct track, we have the anti-corruption education curriculum, which is a compulsory, and each single student at any Egyptian university has to have this curriculum before being graduate. Okay. On the other hand, we have like the code of ethics for students, which is already as well compulsory for each single students who registered at any Egyptian university to have it and to sign a consent form that they read it and they know it. And we have like a little questionnaire they have to answer it in order to confirm that they read it carefully and they know their rights and their duties while they are on the university during their study. This is one of main issues happening in the university, is starting to introduce them to what life need to be in university and then in the community later on, according to ethics and blah, blah, blah. The second thing is indirect way. There is lots of activity such as competition in all different kinds of activity like poem writing stories, drawing, all different arts, singing. Also they write plays and they introduce these plays to the other students so as to give indirect message. For example, each single faculty, we have like groups of people improvise and create a story or a play about the corruption in the field. If they are a faculty of medicine, students at the faculty of education, students at the faculty of engineering. So we just raise their awareness what kind of corruption in this field when you have been graduated and have a job. Take care of blah, blah, blah. And then how could you deal with this? Also, we have marathons, and we try to have like lots of activities around December. Normally, when the 9th of December come, the Anti-Corruption International Day, so to raise the awareness and to have this kind of activity. There is one more thing that we have like a program, it's like a training program to have the governance ambassador. And after they have these programs, actually they also offer lots of things to be done for raising awareness with students at schools, people in the street, on the society in general, or inside the university as well. So there is lots of things we can do, but this is some examples that we are doing at Helwan University. And most of the Egyptian universities doing the same thing actually, because it's a policy for the Ministry of Higher Education, with the cooperation with the UN Odyssey office, with the ACA in Egypt, the Authority of the Anti-Corruption Voting, something like that.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Hanan. And you're highlighting something really important that we at Step Up Nigeria do. Of course, our demographic is much younger children from primary and secondary schools, but the importance of anti-corruption education, I think also Ahmed alluded to this when he started in, if we don't train young people to act against corruption, you have to start from somewhere. So that education is important in, raising those future leaders who will act with integrity. So well done to yourself, your university, and even the Egyptian government, because the policy aspect of it, policy is what's going to drive, implementation. And so if the policies don't exist, then we can't force schools to do this. We're hoping Nigeria can learn from what's happening in Egypt now, and from the policy point, also push, legislation to back this teaching in schools. Okay, so I'm staying with you again. I'm going the other way. I'm starting with you now. And I'd like to know what contributions academia and education in general have made towards anti-corruption efforts. So if you can share some examples.
I'm just saying to you, actually, preparation. How could you guarantee each single student in the university or any institution, when they are graduate, you already help them to be a good person in the society? In terms of how he understand the big issues like corruption and how corruption affects their future or the economy of the country or the development. Okay, how can they be aware about the relation between corruption and development as well, as much as zero corruption, 100% development? So how they can understand this and to add or to make efforts in order to make their future better and better. So all activities, so via academic activities like teaching, or indirect activity like what I've been just said, we try to prepare students to be a good person in the society after graduation. It's already started before that, because there is some activity also at schools. Maybe here I'm talking about university, but in the policy that we have in Egypt as well, there is another activities in a different level. It starts with the children in the school, in the primary, elementary, and secondary stage as well. Then it's at a higher level, and it's a little bit concentrated when they are arriving to us at the university, in order to guarantee that at least they have the minimum information that they need to know and to get ready to be a part of fighting corruption in the society.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Hanan. And as you said it, I did my hand like this because what you said is it's a progression. So if you do this in primary school and you do this in secondary school and do this in university, what you're doing is vaccinating them, at every stage of life to ensure that, they become people who contribute to good governance and not support corruption. So thank you again, and well done. Hoping to learn some of those lessons. So I'll move to Parna now. And you do work for a civil society organization in Liberia. How are civil society driving the anti-corruption agenda? What's the use of, collaborations, and just impactful programs led by, Accountability Lab or any other civil society that you can tell us about?
So the fight against corruption is not a standalone thing. One person cannot do this on their own. One organization cannot do this on their own. And that's where we need the support of the young people. That's how we need the support of academia to come in. And when we all come together and join forces, we can achieve more together. And with the academia, we have been able to. So in Nepal, the accountability lab office there, we have this anti-corruption school where we work with civil servants to be able to talk about anti-corruption and how they can be able to carry out their duties efficiently. In Liberia, we run the Integrity Icon program. I'm sure you're aware of it. It's also in Nigeria, where we celebrate honest public servants to show to young people coming up that this is not just there is not just bad people. I mean, there are a lot of bad apples, but we can be able to pinpoint a few persons to say that these people are heroes for integrity and accountability in our society that you can be able to learn from. We have had icons that were demoted because they stood for the truth. Their salaries were slashed by 80% because they stood up for the truth. They were sent to places way remote that you cannot access because they stood up for the truth and they were trying to silence them. And these people are in our society. So that's where accountability lab comes in. We also run the incubator program wherein we work with young organizations, young people to be able to train them, mentor them into this whole idea of being sustainable and also to be able to push the agenda of anti-corruption. We have modules that talk about the anti-corruption policy. We have modules that talk about accountability and leadership so that when you start an organization, you know that you're not just starting it to be able to make gains or to be able to defraud people, but also to be able to install that value of accountability, integrity within your own system. We also run our voice to rep program where we use music as a tool for social change. And it's interesting how much music can influence people. And that's what we are using that social conscious tools to be able to support young people. And it's interesting that it works in the very local language that anybody can understand, even if you're not educated, you are educated, you are able to understand what the values are within these songs. Um, the academia has been able to support civil society immensely. So even if we are carrying out research, we have to work with academics to be able to understand what the issues are within their own side and how we can be able to support them and talk about the things that are happening within their own sector. People always say that the civil society is a watchdog. I don't believe that. I feel like the civil society should be a space where we are always standing up because a watchdog will definitely get tired and fall asleep at some point. What happens when you fall asleep? People will start to take over. The bad guys will start to move because you are asleep and try to take advantage of that point.
Mm.
So I believe that once we come together and we put we join forces, we can be able to keep standing and keep moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, partner. And I haven't really thought about, the watchdog in that sense because like you're saying, all corrupt politicians need is just like that tiny window, that tiny door. And so if we sleep off for a single day, um, corruption will creep back into the door. So much to think about. I'll move to Ahmed quickly. And it's also around activism as you're working as an activist in your country, and of course, you've been to other countries around the world. How would you speak to civil society and case studies of campaigns, initiatives, programs led by organizations towards tackling corruption and why that's important?
In this time, we know that the globalization is real and that the digitalization of the internet and the whole the global is like one village, making it easy for the people to connect and share ideas and their experiences. And that's one thing that as a youth we can use to uh, to exploit. And for example, we can go to conferences or other workshops. So when we connected the people, when we connected the like-minded youth, when we connected the academia, when we met, the people who are in charge of the boundaries, we always talk to them about what we need, about our goals and agenda, and they make supporting us, and what our goal is to be, how our goal is and objective is to be implemented. And also, and for example, in the youth, when we are making campaigns, grassroots campaigns, we always connect with our peers from the continent. So we make experience sharing and always replicate what's, for example, good practices using in Liberia or Nigeria or Tanzania or like that to our contexts. So that's how can youth can make this lesson learned from other peers, from other places, from other contexts, to use as an example, as a good, successful example, uh, or work that they can use to fight anti-corruption practices. For example, there is a project I have taken part, and that work is by accountability lab in here Somaliland. So they start a program called Good Governance Heroes. So we make them easy to have to reach more people. So because we are connected with the youth, we facilitate with them youth networks, and also I particularly helped with them that. And in that program, in that project, for example, uh, there is the people who are in good position for the for the society. For example, if there is a nurse that making her duties uh, very well, performing her duties very well with honesty. And for example, if there is a public teacher who devotes all of his energy, all of his knowledge for uh, to to learn or to uh, to make or to produce students, that he should be recognized as a good governance heroes. And if there is like other people who are all workers of the society that are taken party for, particularly for those and government services, to make it easy people. So that's the people who are recognized a good governance heroes. So they are awarded and they are recognized and they are acknowledged in their position to the community. And that project, for example, make easy for the people the next year to have a good work, to make their honesty work. So they perform well, they supported the society. Then the next year they can reach that level. And that's the programs we are youth as youth taking part, for example.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ahmed. And kudos to Accountability Lab. I don't know if there's Accountability Lab in Egypt, but from what we're saying, they're in Nigeria, they're in Somaliland,
Yeah,
they're
we
in
are talking
Liberia.
about Barney, about that project.
Yeah,
She
yeah,
wrote the letter, newsletter.
yeah, yeah.
Yes,
I actually
she
saw
told me.
him in one of our newsletters. Yes.
Oh, awesome. Oh, nice,
Yeah.
nice, nice. Um, so great. I think the conversation is going well, and I hope our listeners are all learning tips that we can all implement across our countries to promote good governance and integrity and accountability. But I want to go to challenges, and I think it's important because we say we're fighting corruption, but I don't think people really understand the kind of hindrances, the kind of pushback, and the challenges that we face on a daily basis. And so we don't also just want to talk about the problems. So in your answer, we also want to hear solutions. So my next question is, what are those major obstacles in the fight against corruption? What are some of those key challenges that we have encountered, and what strategies do you think we can implement to overcome some of these challenges? This time around, I'll start with Parna.
Great. I think you're right. We cannot talk about these things and not talk about the challenges and talk about possible solutions to our issues. So I think one of the major, if not the key, to this whole entire fight against corruption is the political will, commitment from leaders. We need for the political will and the commitment from our leaders to be able to really fight corruption. We can talk about all the great things we want to do. We can talk about all the solutions that we have. But if we have the people that are at the very top stepping down on the people below, people that are fighting the activists, the whistleblowers, we cannot go anywhere. And that's where our responsibilities are as the academia, as the young people, as civil society, to be able to talk about the issues, to be able to, when it comes to elections, find leaders or maybe support our leaders or talk to the people, the communities on how to be able to choose leaders, the qualities of a good leader. I know you cannot know a person 100%, but people have track records on how they have been leading. I mean, you cannot take someone who has a terrible record when they came to respecting policies, when it comes to maybe procurement laws and procurement processes, and then you take them, you put them into our public spaces, and you expect them to do better. So in Liberia, our just ended election, we saw a lot of people coming back to our political spaces, people who were indicted for corruption, and we did not see the end of these cases, but they went on and they got elected by our same people. So I think that was this is a problem, we as the citizens, we are also the issue. And we need to work on the mindset of our people. We need to be able to create more awareness about the effects of corruption. We need to be able to tell people how their lives can get better with great leadership. We need to be able to tell people how they can be able to make the best decision for their country. We need to be able to show them good examples from around our continent, or from around our world, from around our country, for cross-border learning, to say, you see this, take an example, Kenya, take for example Rwanda. I mean, I'm not saying that these countries are without corruption, but we have seen the extent to which they have been able to grow, like Tanzania. I mean, a lot of good examples that we can be able to show our fellow citizens, to be able to show them that this is our issue, but we cannot be stuck here. This is the way forward. This is how we need to work. And that's why accountability lab, we do a lot of awareness with our songs, with our activities. We do a lot of awareness. Recently, we launched our national social accountability project, and we are seeking out to be able to go out in all of the counties, to be able to work with community-based organizations, journalists, to be able to track corruption in our public spaces. We need to be able to see what government ministry is more corrupt than the other, and how we can be able to find solutions to this problem. And it's not just with the president, it's about even people who work at the lower level of our society. Yesterday, I posted on my WhatsApp status Liberia and the small thing culture. So it has become a culture where everywhere you go, I don't know how it's called in other places, but when people are asking for bribe in Liberia, they will usually say, give me cold water or give me small thing. And it has become a serious issue. Everywhere you go to public buildings. You even go, my colleague was telling me she was at the Capitol building yesterday, and she went to the bathroom. Even the janitor was asking her for small thing. It is so embarrassing. It has become a norm, a culture. And that's why we as a people, we need to decide that we need to change. It's not just the president. We can say all we want to say. The political world, yes, it's a serious issue, but we need to change. We need to decide that we don't want a society like this. And that's where the serious change comes in. Once you decide that you have a problem and you want to work towards changing that, then you are on the road to change. And yeah, I think that's what we need to do.
Thank you. Thank you so much for a powerful response, honestly. And it really is the reminder that it's in our hands. We choose the leaders that we elect. We choose what we accept. We choose to give bribes or not give bribes, and we choose the future that we want to make. So it's a reminder that we have to wake up, and that the power is in our hands. Okay. So I'll go to Dr. Hanan. Same question. I know your challenges may look a bit different because of, the field that you work, but if you can speak to some of the challenges and obstacles that you face, and what strategies we can use to overcome them.
First of all, you can say again there is general obstacles and specific obstacles, which in general affect universities as well and the academia. We have already, as far as we have poverty and illiteracy. These are the most two main reasons all over the world, actually, especially in some countries in Africa.
Yeah.
And add to this in Egypt is the population. We have raised, the population is raised in the last 10 years, and this is one of the main obstacles as well. So, on the other hand, when we come on the ground or in the universities, so you need fund to do such an activities and things, and inside or outside the university to help the community. So funding is one of the problems. And also you can see the awareness of the people, especially in the youth, um, age between 15 to 30. There is a very big obstacle, which is selfishness. I'm always talk to students or to my students on that point, especially because they have to love their country. They have to think about that. As much as they think about themselves, they will never add, they will never do something like that. And one of the main obstacles is when any person come selfish, think about herself or himself and forget anything else. So how to think about your country, how to think about the others, how to think about your future. This is one important thing. Also, we have a very big obstacle actually in general and again at the university, which is in Egypt, we haven't got yet the whistleblowers law. It has been made, but it hasn't ratified yet. We're just waiting for ratification to be implemented. This is in general. Inside the university as well, we still have the fear of the students when they speak up. At the end of the day, they have doctor exam marks, so they don't want to say something. They don't want to make a complaint about something happened inside the class or whatever, because they are afraid of their march and things like that. So we try to do things like we have like integrity committee, which is guarantee to any students who come and have a complaint or something like that. His name or her name will be totally kept away, and the doctor will never know who is the students made this complaint. We also have like a box, which is we having the complaint box, and this box any students can put any problem or any things that they suffer from or they need to report, and with no names. And this box every week opened by a committee in each college. Okay, so the committee with the faculty dean look at those complaints and have an action when they know that it's already happened or it's real. Another thing is we have the university have like a portal or an application that any students can assign in and write a complaint about anything happened to them during their studying in any college. And also this has been made by the university president himself, look at the complaints and take the necessary actions towards them. Lots of things we try to do our best to encourage the students and even the staff member to be active and to share and to fight corruption from the beginning of the minimum level of being a good role model up to the high level, how to stop corruption, how to fight corruption, how to put hands together without any harm to fight corruption in order to have a better university environment and then a better graduates, so they will be a better and good member at the society as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Hanan. And I think I noted down when you said selfishness, and that goes back to the norms and values issues that, Parna has highlighted. I think tackling corruption has to do with tackling changes in behaviors. So those behaviors that drive corruption, including greed and selfishness, cheating, bullying, oppression, all of that matters in who the person becomes and how they lead. So I do think it's important for us to start considering values-based education, not just for children, but for youth, for societies, for young people, for women, so that people wake up to the reality that what you believe will drive how you act. And so we need to change what we believe. Yes, yes, go
Let
ahead.
me at one point here, as you said, it couldn't be from the university level. It should
Mm,
start from the
mhm,
early beginning, from kindergarten, and then we have to take it step by step, till they can have it deeply at in the university level.
mhm,
So we need to build up this morals and those concepts regarding integrity, transparency, this selfishness behavior, and
mhm.
those things from early beginning.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so Parna, would you like to speak around whistleblower policies and why that's important in the fight against corruption?
First off, I'd like to say that the idea of understanding and knowing that you can come up to talk about the ills in your society without being targeted in itself is total freedom. But then you don't get that because the power that be, the people that are engaged in these acts of corruption would not want that to happen. And that's where it's important that we ensure that whistleblowers are protected, that there are resources to fund these policies in our countries, and that they are they are taken seriously.
Mm,
And
mm,
again, it comes back to leadership commitment and the political will of our leaders to actively fight corruption. Because a lot of the time when people come up to blow the whistle on corruption is because these things are happening in our government ministries and agencies. And some of these ministers are appointed by our presidents. I'm not putting all of the blames on the entire of leadership, but sometimes because of the relationship that these people have, politicians are muted on these issues. When it comes to funding, budgetary allotment for whistleblowers are low, and we cannot move forward or encourage people to ensure their safety if we don't have very serious protection for them. And that's what we need to do more. That's what we need to be
mm,
able to support whistleblowers. We need to be able to support these policies, and civil society, young people need to be able to talk about the issues that whistleblowers are having, and to be able to ensure that the right things are done when it comes to the fundamental requirements for whistleblower and the establishment of these policies in our country. When it comes to funding, we need to be able to advocate for the right funding for or adequate funding for whistleblowers in
mhm,
the country. We need to ensure that the safety of whistleblower is paramount, because it could be any of us today or tomorrow that
mhm,
realize that things are happening and we want to report it. But because the systems, the structures are
mhm,
terrible, it
mhm,
becomes a problem for even ourselves. And it even make people to shy away from coming up with or reporting acts or alleged acts of corruption, because they realize that there is absolutely no protection for them. They have seen instances where people come up to talk about things that are happening and they are targeted. Um, in Liberia, two, 2 years ago, we had auditors dying. They were just be found dead the next morning in road. It happened like for weeks. And the government had nothing to say about it. Our president came up and said that one of the auditors who died, who was found in the street, was there because she was having an affair. Can you imagine? Nothing came out of those investigations. Nothing came out of those people's lives. And the story behind these things were that they were trying to disclose huge issues of fraud within government through audits. And it's important to ensure that when whistleblowers, when people who are passionate about change come up to talk about the issues that we have, their lives are not cut short because they want to speak all to the power that be, or they want to speak out against corruption. So I feel like we need to do more. Our governments need to do more. We as the independent bodies, we need to be able to speak out more. We need to be able to push for the right policies for our whistleblowers in our society. And one of the ways that we are even supporting that act, we work with UNDP and other civil society organizations, government civil society organizations in Liberia to create an app called Talking in Liberia. So it's TALKIT, but in colloquial we say Talking. So when you say Talking, is to be able to voice out things. So that's what the app is called. And this app allows people to report corruption or alleged corruption without any trace to who did this or who did that. And the reports are supposed to go directly to the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission, who is then supposed to take those cases and to be able to follow up and investigate. So I mean there are instances or there are measures being put to place, there are mechanisms being put to place, but I believe that more needs to be done if we want to get the adequate result that we want.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That was a robust response, Parna. I'll come back to you for your closing statements. So let's move to Ahmed now that he's back. If you can hear me, Ahmed, the question is around whistleblower disclosures, whistleblower policies, and how we ensure whistleblower protection and encourage whistleblowers in the fight against corruption. But from the last round of questions, if you also want to speak to any key challenges that youth have faced and how you've overcome them, you can do that as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think when we are talking about the challenges and we are facing, one the main challenges is that in Africa, particularly, the the, the democracy is shrinking. There are coups, um, in the in some parts of the Africa, and they are encouraging like the good bad governance and military taking the administration, and there are lawless, and constitutional is always and not effective or enforced. And this is one challenge because the freedom of expression are right to all the rights from the constitution are not enforced because of the coups. That's one challenge I think the youth of Africa particularly are experiencing, because when they are talking about experience, corruption is, or wanted to talk their leaders and accountable who they are talking to. They are talking to the military junta who are on the charge. They can't, because it is almost the constitution is not effective or working. And it's one of the challenges I can say we have facing as a youth, particularly because our voices can be silenced. And the other thing is that there are always lack of funding when it comes to there are limited resources of funding for youth organizations that working on climate justice or like climate justice mainstreaming with, for example, anti-corruption, uh, and that's one of the challenges. And also access to decision making is one of the challenges we can face as a youth, because in Africa, like those who are sitting in the power, they mostly they you they are not interested in the youth. They are not wanted to listen. They are not wanted to sit with them and hear their concerns. That's one of the things, because decision makers always in Africa disrespect youth, or somehow they are silenced them to meet or like that. And when it comes to whistleblowers protection, it is a very important thing uh, uh, to have laws and regulations that are kept safe, that guarantee their work, their speech, and their advocacy is being protected by the state. Unfortunately, uh, also as a Barbane colleague, uh, that in Africa, mostly whistleblowers, they didn't feel safe in their respective countries, because uh, government is targeting them in like a third hand, or just maybe other somehow uh, assassinate them. so that they can't speak, they can't say any words about the government. If they say that the government, if they whistleblower, the government mismanagement, and lack of governance about their bad actions, then they will be assassinated, they will be jailed, they will be put in incarceration, and that is a very unfortunate to have this culture in Africa. But I think the way forward is that to have some we can advocate our voices as of African youth, particularly civil society, academia, through African Union, for example, or other regional bodies like ECOWAS or North African or East African, like that, so that we can use these platforms to enforce the governments to have forceful laws that protect the whistleblowers, and that African Union or these bodies make the Eurostem, so that every government in regional bodies or in the African Union have whistleblower protection laws and policies, and that will be very one good one. I think we can work on together to have this whistleblower regulations in our countries, and also we can replicate other countries in Africa that have good, like good governance, that have like whistleblowers protection laws. We can replicate their countries to our countries that have no whistleblower protection schemes or system or
Thank you.
place.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ahmed. Your recommendations have been well noted, including involving international organizations like the African Union that cuts across all our nations. So thank you. So Dr. Hanan, I'm moving to you on your comments around this year's African Anti-Corruption Day theme around whistleblower disclosure and policies to protect. So I'll ask that you respond to that. And then once we're done, we'll take our final comments from all the speakers. Thank you.
It's very needed to end up such a law, encourage people and let people feel comfortable to do this and to help in fighting corruption. But the most important thing, beside having the law active, the awareness and to let people know about it and believe that it's implemented. Because you may have it, but people are still not in safe. So to raise the awareness as well and to let people ensure that they are in safe if they are decided to share. My last message is to everyone. If you are one of the people who have the face and the desire to fight corruption, you have to be patient and never give up.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hanan. Be patient and never give up. That's something we'll start to tell children when we go to schools. We know you're frustrated and you're tired, but be patient and never give up. Thank you. Okay, so my question is final comments, final thoughts. What are your own recommendations? How can young people and civil society, how can we continue to collaborate to achieve a corruption-free Africa? So just your final recommendations.
Okay, thank you very much. I think my final recommendations would be we have to work on in hand and in academia for youth, for civil society in Africa, particularly to have a strong network, to have a strong social bond for Africans and work together for the better and the welfare of in our continent, and particularly for supporting each other. For example, in South corporations, for example, the countries that in South corporations have a platform called UN South Corporation. So they always share best practices. They learn each other. So I think Africans in African countries, particularly, we have to set up platforms that is like that. For example, and that if countries that have a good governance system, countries that have less anti-corruption practices, then that countries have make their regulations very clearly about fighting anti-corruption. That they have to like that they have to make or give their hands that, that countries have less commitment. So we have to support each other as Africans. And other thing is that we as civil society, youth, and particularly academia should have platforms that's accessible for us to to share our work and also make our voices be heard and also campaign each other. For example, when there is a risky for whistleblowers or youth or civil society that are some countries in Africa, we have to make our voices loud and heard so that we can support and stand in each other as African sisters and brothers. And yes, I think my final remarks is on that.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ahmed. Um, much appreciated. Collaboration. And
Yes,
like you said,
collaboration. Yes,
peer-to-peer
collaboration.
learning from one
Peer-to-peer.
another.
Yeah,
That's how we
yeah,
get
yeah.
better. Okay.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
International level and national level, because it's very,
Mm.
very
And
useful to
regional.
have it in international
Yes.
and to
And
exchange
regional.
experiences, especially we have like same context. Yani, we have similar things in the African countries, so it's very helpful to have to keep having this international experiences and then to convey it and to come back to inside our countries for the national level as well, to get benefited with these experiences.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Hanan. Okay, Parna.
So, in parting, I would like to say thank you for the opportunity to have us all on this call to be able to talk about the issues that we face as African. And I think that one key lesson for young people is to continue to use their energy, understanding that their voice is their power, and also to be able to take action against the things that are happening in society. And this can happen in many ways or in different ways. We can collaborate with academia, with civil society organizations to be able to come about cross-learning programs for all of us in the sector. We can be able to form field fairs where we can be able to learn from our failures and to be able to improve on it for the betterment of our society. We can also be able to speak up to the powers that be. We can also be able to use our voices to influence policies, to be able to create a lasting change. It's amazing how all of us on this call, even today, we are working in different sectors with the aim and the goal of achieving that fight against corruption. And once we can be able to understand that in as much as we are different as young people, in as much as academics are focusing on different issues, our common ground is to be able to fight corruption to secure our society. So thank you so much. And it was really nice to be um, on here with Dr. Marseille and Ahmed.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Parna, for those recommendations. And I hope young people are inspired by you as someone who serves on the youth board, but also someone who is actively working to empower young people across Africa. Thank you. So thank you, everyone. A big thank you to Dr. Hanan Mercy from Egypt. Thank you so much, Ahmed Yusuf Abdi from Somaliland. And thank you so much, Ms. Parna Malobi from Liberia. You've been a wonderful audience today, and I'm sure that our listeners have learned important things about how youth, academia, and civil society can collaborate to reduce corruption in Africa and promote young people who are the future of our nations who have integrity. I thank you to all our listeners for listening. Remember to follow Step Up Nigeria on all our social media handles at step_up_Nigeria and Step Up Nigeria on LinkedIn.